What a Strange Little Colt. Written by Linwood. Chapter 13. The First Choice, Part 2. Spike wrung his claws together. His stomach flipped in his gut and he tapped his feet, rocking back and forth on his heels. You don't know what you're implying, Dash. You're putting your hoof down for this kid you haven't even known for 2 weeks, and you let the princess die? You're being hard-headed. The corner of Looking Glass's mouth raised in a disgusted sneer as he spoke. Twilight gave her support in the form of an astute nod.
He's right, Rainbow. And if I didn't know you, I'd say there was mind magic at play.
The Pegasus visibly resisted the urge to leap into the air. Spike saw her scrape at the ground with a hoof.
I'm not mind-controlled, and I'm not the one who's being hard-headed. That slimy jerk convinced you that this was the only way, and now you won't listen to me.
She punctuated her words with a frustrated snort.
Yes, you two were awfully eager to slaughter an innocent. You didn't even have the common courtesy to just ask him about all this.
Counselor Hill's tail swished behind her and her eyes looked hard and cold, completely void of their usual welcoming shine. Every time they flicked his way, Spike's heart skipped a beat, and he wasn't even the focus of her rage. Oh, of course! Looking snapped as he rolled his eyes and waggled his hoof up and down. Why didn't I think of asking the eldritch beast from beyond if we could snap its neck? It's genius! Sandy's gaze snapped to his, and Spike saw his eyes widen a little.
Be quiet, liar,
Sandy hissed.
In anything close to a fair world, you'd lose your Celestia Dan badge for impersonating ministry workers. Lying and telling me I not only lost my job, but I failed?
I'll have you know that it was... Rainbow caught enough with an indignant shout.
Hey, what? You Solus freak, I'll throw you in the dungeons myself!
Looking Glass jumped a little when Rainbow put herself in his face, but he held his ground. I'd like to see you try, you raving narcissist.
Hey!
Shouted Twilight, really stopping Rainbow from leaping at the stallion. Desperation gripped her wavering voice.
None of this matters right now. We have to focus on finding the interloper, because, in case every pony's forgotten, Princess Celestia's sister is dying, and we've lost it.
She sent a brief but razor-sharp frown at Looking Glass. Spike bit his lip hard. Twilight didn't sound like that unless something really bad was going on. The last time you heard her like that, Nightmare Moon had shown up. He steadied his toes and rubbed an upset stomach, trying to ignore the prying eyes on the street.
Hang out there enjoying the show. Those jerks.
The stallion snorted. How was I supposed to know that it wouldn't be enough to take its magic and lock it in a third-floor office? I was only gone for 2 minutes.
It's got wings.
He jabbed a hoof at Sandy. She said it couldn't use them, and I took its magic. Twilight grumbled and rolled her eyes.
Regardless, we still have to find it. At least say his name, Twilight.
The counselor sneered.
You owe him that much. Yeah. Do we really want to find him, Twi?
Rainbow frowned deepened as she looked away from Looking.
Do I really want to focus on that so you can drag him to Celestia a second later? Maybe I want him to escape. Rainbow,
Twilight smacked her forward with a hoof. Spike could see her struggling to keep the raw anger from her voice.
You're making me out to be some sort of soulless killer. I'm trying to save a life. The princess's life, and I don't like this either.
Sandy snorted.
You aren't trying to save a life. You're trying to trade one. Don't lie to yourself. Yeah, and that's all you're trying to do, Twi. Don't see you looking through any magic books for another way, huh?
The RBI agent snorted. That's not how that works, Dash.
Oh yeah, slugger?
Rainbow spat at Looking.
Are you both suddenly experts on soul magic now?
Well, we researched enough to know what we need to do. Dash groaned.
So why not go find a real expert and see if they know anything? You know, somebody who actually does soul magic? Maybe there's another way out of this.
Spike grimaced, but not because Twilight dragged a hoof through her rat's nest of a mane again.
Soul magic is illegal, Rainbow,
Twilight said.
and for good reason. The only pony our sources mentioned that might be able to help and didn't die hundreds of years ago is Princess Luna. And that's obviously not an option.
A familiar feeling rose in Spike's stomach, like a swirling, burning storm in his gut, and pushed its way up and out. He let out a fantastic belch and a gout of flame, and his arms darted forward automatically. Half a moment later, a scroll plopped down into his waiting claws. No ribbon trailed behind it, and no royal seal held it shut. It was just a plain, rolled-up sheet of parchment. He unfurled it and read the short yet neatly penned note inside. His eyes grew wide.
Guys? Rainbow, I'm sorry, but we are out of time. There's no point in looking for an alternate solution if the princess we're trying to save is dead by the time we find one.
Hey, guys. Rainbow Dash showed absolutely zero sign that she heard his call.
You don't know that. You have no idea how Luna's doing right now.
Hey, hello, any pony? This was getting out of claw. Why wouldn't anyone listen to him?
Spike, please be quiet.
Charlie shoved a hoof in his face as he shouted, giving him the barest annoyed glance.
Rainbow, Princess Celestia told me herself that she thought Luna was in critical danger. And she's the only pony we know who even knows how to do real soul magic. We don't have the time to figure anything else out.
Yes, Rainbow Dash. Looking snarled, bringing his muzzle up to hers. Use your brain for once. Spike saw a special type of fire burst in light behind Rainbow's eyes.
For once? Oh, come here, you son of a...
That was all she managed before her hoof rocketed into Looking Glass's jaw. Look! The stallion stumbled backwards and collapsed. Rainbow dove forward, but Sandy collided with her, and the two went tumbling into the cobblestones.
Sandy, let me go!
Rainbow shouted.
I'm gonna make sure this jerkwad stays down. Rainbow, stop. Think about what you're doing,
Sandy said. Rainbow squirmed free and leapt at Looking again, but slammed into a translucent lavender wall.
Stop, every pony, stop! We can't afford to fight!
Twilight cried. Looking finished struggling to his hooves with a cold, absolute malice in his eyes. He wiped blood away with the split of his lip and lit his horn, and Spike knew he was out of time.
Listen to me, you idiots!
The group blinked, totally choked off, and turned wide-eyed to look at the little dragon. Then, at the scroll he held in his claws. The violet wall disappeared, and Looking's horn stopped glowing. Twilight opened her mouth, but Spike gave her a pointed look, cleared his throat, and unfolded the letter.
My dearest student, I wish to inform you that, Gabriel arrived at the palace attempting to seek me out and is currently in my care. Please gather your friends and come to us at once. Gabriel wishes to inform you to bring every pony, including Miss Sandy Hills, Mr. Looking Glass, and Spike.
The little dragon blinked, coughed once, and finished reading.
With much love, Princess Celestia.
Spike's final words hung in the energy-drained air. Twilight's mouth hung open, her expression a near carbon copy of Rainbow's, whose wings fell to her sides. Sandy plopped down onto her rear, and Looking rubbed the side of his head with his hoof. Oh, wow, he whispered. Spike had done it. Gabe wasn't missing anymore, so they had finally stopped shouting.
So why does it feel like things are only gonna get worse?
Rainbow shut her mouth and swallowed. She glanced at Twilight.
I guess we better get going, huh?
She said in a low, gravelly voice. Twilight blinked.
Yes, we...
She bit her lip.
Yes, I guess we should.
The princesses aren't here, miss. The royal guard pointed a wing towards two massive wood and wrought iron doors. The two stallions already standing before them waited for the guard to nod before they turned around and each braced a hoof against the dark, majestic wood. A creaking groan echoed through the halls, then the candlelit room beyond appeared. Rainbow Dash's heart soared when she spotted Gabe, sitting on a cushion near the middle of the room, and plummeted at the sight of the Sunlight Princess next to him, her head lowered and her gaze attentive to the little foal. It felt strange to see her without her golden regalia. No, it felt wrong.
So, you can probably guess that things weren't in all that great shape by the 5th year, when...
The Colt stopped mid-sentence at the sight of the group. He smiled when he met her eyes, and Rainbow spirits lightened just the tiniest bit. Celestia raised her head to face the newcomers. She looked exhausted.
Twilight, my dear student, I am glad you are here,
she said.
And to the rest of you, welcome.
Every time Rainbow had seen the princess before, that same smile had seemed so warm and motherly. But right now, she couldn't shake the thought of Gabe's fate from her mind. Surely the princess would be on Twilight's side, right? Her own sister's life was at stake, and it showed. She wasn't wearing any of her fancy gold stuff, and Rainbow had never seen bags underneath Celestia's eyes. Twilight mumbled something vaguely gracious to the guard, who nodded and motioned with a hoof. The five entered the room, and the doors groaned again. The thin bar of sunlight on the opposite wall thinned to a sliver, then disappeared, returning the massive tapestry on the far wall to its humble, flickering light. Hey, guys. The Colt waved his hoof. Rainbow wanted desperately to run to him, scoop him up, and bolt back out the door. Instead, she raised her own hoof and forced it not to tremble.
Hey, kid.
The group began to move towards the two, forming a rough circle of ponies in the middle of the room. Rainbow made sure to seat herself next to Gabe. Sandy moved in at her side, looking sweaty and anxious. She kept glancing up at Princess Celestia with wide eyes, which Rainbow could certainly empathize with. She had felt the same way when she first saw the princess up close. Twilight and Looking moved to sit beside Celestia, leaving the latter and Spike to sit across from the Colt of the Hour. The stallion wiped at his mouth again and narrowed his eyes at Rainbow. She glared right back. A few 10 seconds passed where the air hung over them all like thick, smoky cloth. Every pony listened to the click, click, click of the little dragon's claws tapping together. Gabe looked around at them all. He seemed so small, surrounded by big ponies, and looked especially tiny next to Celestia. Even Spike looked bigger. If some pony looked at them now, Rainbow doubted they would even notice the little colt. Twilight cleared her throat with a little cough.
So, princess?
She said.
What happens now?
Celestia made the faintest smile.
I believe Gabriel requested your presence. Isn't that right?
She looked at the colt at her side. Gabe nodded, brimming with that calm confidence of his.
Now we talk it out. No lies, no vagueness. We really don't have time for that anymore.
He looked up at the alicorn sitting beside him.
Celestia, you're up first. Tell us what's going on with Luna.
Rainbow's eyes widened at the blasé tone. The kid didn't even call her princess. The princess simply nodded once, then strained her back and looked down at those gathered around her.
My little ponies,
she began.
As you all must know by now, my sister is currently gravely ill. This is because of a forbidden spell she performed some time ago, when I believe was meant to summon the mind and soul of a pony very close to her in years long past. She failed, and instead brought Gabriel here to Equestria. In doing so, she tore her soul in two, and a considerable piece of it now is in him. If it is not returned,
Celestia swallowed.
I do not believe she will see nightfall.
Rainbow's heart tightened. Some part of her had been holding out that maybe Twilight was wrong. But to hear it from the princess herself, that was something else. To her left, the counselor made a little gasp.
So it's true?
The princess nodded again.
Yes, Gabriel is definitely the interloper, but not the kind we have encountered before.
Celestia told me about your interlopers. Gabe cut in. And I can tell you right now, I'm not some sort of supernatural deity monster from beyond the stars wearing the skin of a pony. I don't even have any mind control powers, and I'm not going to remove anyone's skeleton. I'm just me. Sandy seemed like she would tip over if Rainbow gave her even the slightest push.
So, you're really not a pony?
She asked with a paper-thin voice. Gabe took a deep breath. No, I'm not. I'm not even a kid. Or
I wasn't, at least.
Sandy's eyes left open and she covered her open mouth with a huff, her already unsteady breathing becoming even more staggered.
Not a kid?
Rainbow felt her head swell and spin.
This whole time, I've been treating him like he's a little Colt, but it kind of makes sense.
She shook her head.
No, it totally makes sense. Self-sufficient, knowledgeable sometimes, and he kept talking about when he was younger. Jeez, that makes so much more sense.
Looking Glass leaned in, looking cautious. So, what are you then? He asked with a raised eyebrow.
I'm just a person. A type of person from very far away.
And what are your people like? Looking pushed. Are they dangerous? A hot white flame burst to life inside Rainbow.
That doesn't matter, you snake!
A flash of alarm and regret surged through her when she realized she had just spoken like that in front of Princess Celestia. But the thought faded as quickly as it had came, because she realized she simply didn't care. Desperate times called for desperate measures, and she was trying to save some pony too. The investigator met her glare. I'm only being sure. Rainbow began her less than polite retort, but Gabe held a little foreleg across her front, freezing the angry words in her throat. It's fine, he said without looking at her. Glass, I wouldn't say my people are, by nature, any less complicated than ponies. But Rainbow's got a point. Is that really what you want to focus on right now? The stallion pursed his lips and raised his chin. Rainbow could see him struggling to swallow his pride. No, it's not. Despite what some ponies may believe, I'm trying to do what's right here. Rainbow snorted. Then start by being honest, Gabe said. What was your and Twilight's plan today? The stallion shuffled his hooves and massaged his jaw. He had better pick his words carefully, Rainbow thought. Eventually, he sighed and began to speak in a tone that almost sounded guilty. Twilight and I were to separate you from Miss Hills and Miss Dash. She was to say she needed Miss Dash's help, and I posed as an agent in the Ministry of Public Health and Family Services. Looking licked his split lip and glanced up to Celestia, but her face remained as emotive as the stone walls surrounding them. He swallowed and continued. I took you into the offices and told you to wait, locked you in, and then, falsely, told Miss Hills that she had been removed from the case. The more he talks, the more you want to smash his stupid face in, Rainbow thought. Again. His gaze dropped to the carpet. By the time I returned, you had disappeared. What would you have done if I had stayed? Gabe said. He didn't sound upset or angry at all, just genuinely curious. I would have brought you here, to the princess, by force if necessary. All right. The fool looked satisfied enough, shifting his gaze to the lavender unicorn beside him. Twilight. She jumped a little when he said her name. Why were you two doing this? Her voice wavered, but she glanced at the white mare beside her and squared her shoulders. When she spoke again, her voice was steady and confident. Because we believed we had to. It was the best way to save the princess. Rainbow would have harped on the believe part right away, but Gabriel moved right along. And how exactly did you plan on saving her? How can he be so calm? Does he know his life is at stake? What is going on? Twilight's stance faltered, and she glanced down at her shuffling host for a second, before meeting the Colt's eye. Based on what we know about Luna's spell, your body contains the torn piece of Luna's soul. All we needed to do was, She looked up at Celestia and shuffled again. Free it by, initiating contact. Initiating contact? Sandy said. Twilight blushed. I mean, all we'd have to do is get the two bodies to touch. Anima Thaumaturgia says the soul fragment should be desperate to return to its own, since it must have been separated rather,
messily when Princess Luna's spell failed.
Ah, muttered Gabriel.
That's why it feels so weirdly hot in this room.
He glanced at Luna's bedroom door. Rainbow couldn't stop herself.
Wait, we can't just remove it? There's no way to suck the soul out of him or something?
She glanced at Gabe. He had a pensive look on his face as he rubbed his chin with a hoof.
You don't seem very confident in what you're saying, Twilight,
Sandy said. She kept her chin raised, but Rainbow could hear the waver in her voice. How hard was she trying to keep her voice steady? Looking piped in, and Rainbow didn't try to hide her sneer. She's correct. He contains a piece of Luna's soul. Princess, can you confirm this?
Brown noser.
Princess Celestia nodded.
I know my sister's magical presence. It follows Gabriel as well. I can feel it.
She spoke with a calm, even tone, almost sounding dead. Again, when compared to her usual regal voice, it made Rainbow shiver, but she pushed the feeling away.
So remove it. We can't, Rainbow,
Twilight said. Her voice's frustrated tone made guilty satisfaction bounce off the inside of Rainbow's chest.
Not without killing, him. Why not?
Sandy asked.
The elements did it with Nightmare Moon. I don't think the elements are an option right now.
Twilight said, her eyes flicking to meet with Rainbow's for a moment.
Besides, that was different. The Nightmare was an entirely different entity than Princess Luna. There were two. And then when we return Luna's soul, there won't be anything to keep his body going.
The counselor came to her side again, pointing at her hoof.
Twilight, are you saying the Colt does not have a soul?
The jab hit Twilight where it mattered.
I'm saying that interlopers don't have souls,
She said, sounding defensive.
Not like ponies do. Whatever he's got in him, it wasn't meant for a pony. It needs help to keep him alive. That's simply not true,
Sandy said, almost cutting the unicorn off.
Gabriel is kind and empathetic. He is far from Solus. I saw him make friends with 3 little fillies, for crying out loud. How can you say that?
That doesn't mean that it has a soul, not like we do. Looking said, Rainbow saw red. It could just be...
Stop calling him an it,
she growled, leaping to her feet.
All you ever do is call him it, like he's not a real pony. But he isn't a real pony,
Twilight cried. Rainbow came very close to acting on the urge to slap Twilight on the side of the head. She stamped her hoof instead.
Person, you know what I mean. He isn't a real person either,
Twilight shouted back.
He's a flesh golem with a mind or soul of something from another world, powered by a piece of an alicorn's inner magic. It's the only thing keeping the body alive. Don't talk about him like that. Rainbow,
Sandy said, setting a hoof on her shoulder. Rainbow frowned and pushed the hoof away, but kept her mouth shut. For the moment.
Twilight, whatever his nature may be, cruelty is unnecessary. You must know by now that he is not acting maliciously. Why are you so unwilling to look the other way? Because I don't think there are any.
Twilight snapped, her voice hard.
There's no way around this. We're running out of time.
Her voice softened.
I'm sorry. I really am. How can you be so sure?
Sandy looked up at the alicorn.
Princess Celestia, you've been around for, a long time. Don't you know anything about this, soul magic? I am afraid not,
Princess Celestia said, her face falling.
Before my sister's banishment, there was no need for me to know, as she is more of an expert on the subject than I could ever be. Afterwards, I had no desire to research the magic that had helped lead it to it all. I am sorry, my little pony. I cannot help you here.
Rainbow spoke up.
That doesn't mean we should give up. Maybe there's some scroll or something that...
There's no time. Looking Glass cut in, sounding agitated and impatient to the point of desperation. I understand that it's uncomfortable, but we don't know how long Princess Luna has. We can't afford to gamble with her life.
So you're throwing away somebody else's?
Sandy said.
I wonder, would you be so eager if it were your foal's life on the line? Or how about Spike, Twilight?
The little dragon's eyes widened. He wrung his claws together and looked at Twilight, whose mouth hung openly silent. Looking Glass had no such problem. I don't have any foes, he said, glowing at Sandy. Rainbow leaned forward.
And how could you possibly understand, you heartless bastard?
It doesn't matter. Yes, I would. Is that what you want to hear? Looking exploded, shouting hard enough to send spittle flying through the air. I would give up my own foal to save the princess's life. You know why? Because Luna's worth more. He snapped his hooves. She's worth more than you. She's worth more than me. And she's especially worth more than an interloper. She's an alicorn. She's immortal.
I don't care.
Rainbow leapt up on all four hooves and planted herself in the middle of the circle.
You're going to kill him, and you won't even look for another way.
He shook his head. We are out of options. We're out of time. Rainbow Dash felt spittle drop from her lower lip and dragged her hoof across her mouth as she whipped her head around to Sandy.
She's been backing me up all day. She's the only other pony with her head screwed on tight. She'll know what to say.
The counselor stayed silent, staring out, looking with a twisted up, disgusted look on her face. Then her wings drooped and she hung her head low. She couldn't even meet Rainbow's eye.
Pathetic. Rainbow, maybe... Of course. Of course I'm the only one who has the guts to do the right thing here, huh? Cowards! You all make me sick.
She glared at every single pony in the circle.
I can't believe every one of these selfish mules keeping their mouths shut.
Of all of them, only Celestia returned her stare's strength. The two locked eyes of Rainbow grimaced inwardly.
I can't believe I used to think you were perfect.
She turned around.
Gabe,
The spot next to Celestia was empty.
What?
She looked up the others, and amazingly, horrifyingly, they all had the same flabbergasted look on their face. Even Celestia's eyes had widened. Rainbow's ears twitched and caught the sound of a door groaning shut. It didn't come from the main entrance, so the only place...
No!
She exploded off her hooves in a wild burst of movement and frantic wing flapping. Her hooves slammed into Luna's bedchamber doors a half-second after they made a heavy thudding clunk. Rainbow's whole body attempted to continue its journey forward and crumpled like an accordion. Then she uncrumpled and tumbled to the floor. Not that she could have recognized that, because the whole room was spinning like mad. She blinked hard.
Come on, Rainbow. You've had worse. Shake it off.
One by one, she found her hooves and got them underneath herself, and with a grunt, pushed herself back right side up. With one more shake of her head, she raised a hoof and tried the magnificently crafted metal door handle. Clunk. It didn't budge.
Hey!
Rainbow shouted. She pounded her hoof on the door.
Hey! What's going on? Open up!
The voice that followed came through the door, muffled and quiet.
Rainbow, chill. Kid!
Rainbow pounded on the door some more. It rattled in its archway.
Kid, something's wrong. The door's stuck. That's because I locked it. Just wait, What?
Rainbow blinked and shook her head.
Then unlock it.
She glanced over her shoulder. The others were still sitting in the circle, save for Twilight, who had gotten to her hooves and held a foreleg to her chest.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna let them hurt you,
He said, glaring at them. Princess Celestia rose, graceful as ever, and gave her a sad look. Rainbow felt uncomfortable.
Rainbow, that's not...
The wood fell silent for a moment.
Rainbow, you heard them. We're out of time. There isn't another way out of this.
The rest of them began to stand, making their way closer to the door in slow, measured steps.
Rainbow...
Twilight trailed off. Dasher ignored her.
Kid, open the door. You're making a mistake. Oh, this is gonna be rough.
He said so softly that she strained to hear his words. Then he called to the door again.
I appreciate it, Rainbow. I really do. But this is how it's gonna be. Don't be stupid. Open up.
A second shadow crawled up the door and Rainbow turned to see Celestia standing beside her. She suppressed a sneer, but not very well.
Can't you open this stupid door? It's your castle.
The princess shook her head.
It's Luna's bedroom, Rainbow Dash. It wouldn't be a lock if I could enter whenever I wanted. Can't you just force it open? Come on, you're the princess!
Another shake, slower this time.
This door isn't just made of solid wood and iron. It's heavily warded against magic. If I were to use a spell to force it open, that spell would need to be powerful enough to also force open anything in the next room, including Gabrielle and my sister.
Rainbow didn't believe that for a second, but she had better things to do than to argue with the Prince of the Sun. She pounded her hoof on the door so hard it hurt.
Gabe, come on, open the stupid door. Rainbow, will you listen to me? I'm trying to.
Gabe stuttered from behind the door.
Come on, Rainbow. Twilight said so. Celestia said so. If there was something they could do, they would do it. I'm looking at Luna right now. She needs help. So we can. Rainbow, I know it's hard. Believe me, I've been on your side of the door. Please, just... It's my choice. Don't make this worse than it has to be. But
Rainbow felt her heart drop into her hooves.
I don't get it. Princess Luna's the one who caused all this. It's all her fault, not yours. You don't deserve this. It's not fair. Open the door. Yeah, it's not fair. Nothing ever is.
His voice was gravelly and slow.
But I'm not going to let her die so I can live, Rainbow. I'm done with that shit. Gabe, what about your friends? What am I gonna tell Scoots and Bloom and Sweetie? Come on!
It felt like somebody was squeezing her throat shut.
What about me? I'm sorry. Kid?
Rainbow knocked on the door.
Gabe? Gabe, don't!
She tried the doorknob and smashed her up against the ancient wood.
Kid, don't do this. Don't give up. You said you wouldn't give up.
Her heart ached and seized in her chest and she just wanted it all to stop.
No.
Twilight said something, but Rainbow couldn't make it out over the sound of her own heartbeat pounding away. She backed up a few steps and drove herself in the door shoulder first.
Come on. Not even a little budge. Come on.
Her shoulder ached and complained, so the Pegasus turned around and bucked with all the strength she could muster. The impact vibrated up her bones and into her spine, but she grit her teeth.
Pony up, Rainbow. You can do this.
She bucked the door again and winced at the impact, but the wood didn't move.
Nothing?
She growled.
You stupid door.
Rainbow readied another buck, ready to show that damn door who was boss when two hooves pressed together on either side of her head.
Rainbow, listen to me.
Twilight stood nose to nose with her.
Where the hell did this jerk come from?
Spike and the princess looked down from behind, one looking nervous enough to throw up, and the other as emotionless as the marble statue.
Dash, you need to stop. Shove off, you stupid nerd.
Rainbow pushed her violet hooves away and glared at her.
You're not gonna help me, so just stay out of my way. I'm trying to.
Twilight's indignant response got cut off by a tan foreleg across the chest. Then he gently pushed her backwards, placing herself in between the mares.
Twilight, let her be. How can she be so calm? Doesn't she realize what's happening?
Rainbow Dash delivered another buck to the door. It remained seemingly immovable. The unicorn mare stamped her hoof on the lavishly carpeted floor.
Look at her. What if she hurts herself? I know, but it's not the time. Trust me.
The counselor turned around to face Rainbow, who blew multicolored strands of mane out of her face. Rainbow took the chance to speak first, letting out the burning acid in her gut.
What? You gonna try me too, Shrink?
She expected a gasp or an offended retort, or really anything more than a simple thin-mouthed stare that she got. Instead, she simply shook her head no and lined herself up beside her.
What?
Rainbow said, her eyebrows raised.
What are you doing? Helping you.
Then he looked her straight in the eye. Her face was unwavering and just as honest as AJ's. Rainbow huffed and stamped her hoof.
All right, on 3.
The counselor nodded.
1, 2, 3.
That time the door rattled and creaked in its frame.
Come on, just a few more. 1, 2, 3.
Again and again they bucked the supernaturally strong door, and each time Rainbow could feel the lock getting just a little looser. She didn't care that the rest of them were staring at her with varying degrees of pity. She didn't care that she was trying to bust into Luna's personal chambers. Nothing mattered to Rainbow besides getting in that damn room. A buck finally produced the groaning, faintly splintered sound she wanted so dearly to hear, and a spark of excited hope raced through her chest when she saw Princess Celestia's eyebrows raise.
Yes, we're so close.
Rainbow cried. She didn't look happy, but Dash ignored that. She was helping. That's what mattered.
All right, again. 1.
An impossibly bright light exploded from the crack beneath the door. It cast the room in black and white, lighting the group from underneath for just the barest of moments. There was a whooshing sound, the light went out, and there was silence. No pony spoke. No pony moved. The doors went clunk and swung open. Only 2 more chapters left, and damn, we are getting in the best bits of this fic. However, before anything else, I would like to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, my Tier 1s, Redeemer of Dark, Jason, Chase Lemaster, Lunar Gaze, Hyperling, 8th Day of Night, Starlight Blaze, Night in Game, Dreamless Portal, and Balanced Kindness. My Tier 2s, Captain Blueshadow, The Animated Ghost, Solus, HKH4, aka Textures, Sword Brother and Mordred, Nocturne, DJMX 2000, Papa Lennon, Can Panzer, Elemental Wolf, and H1 Wolf King. And of course, a large thank you to my Titan tiers, User 1842, Dark Guardian, Danish Dash, Maverick, and of course, a large thank you to Silent Titan. I appreciate you guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.